Okay, let's get this party started. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's get this party started. Let's give an honor to Source, to the Creator, the Most High, for making all this possible. To the ancestors known and unknown. Give gratitude to the ancestors, those that came before us. Even the ones who were resistance against this shift right now. I give gratitude to that because it makes me have more courage even more. And yeah. I want to first by starting off, as you can see, my message is clear today. I came across this person earlier, and I immediately was talking to my partner, and I was saying it jokingly, the boy who was called the man of the house too soon. But in reality, it's the deep programming is to have taught us to laugh at our pain. And laughter is a great thing. Laughter is a great way to experience joy, to purge, and to allow things to get out. But the laughter that I feel that is that masks pain or the suppressed emotions or memories is the laughter that is used to be passive aggressive towards how you actually feel. And I was aware of that as I was laughing at the post, but at the same time she was like, "You need to cry," and I was getting to it. It was just the fact of so much coming up, so many memories, so many things that were being processed. So with that, the topic at hand, I'm gonna go through layers because it's different posts, or it's different things that I'm gonna speak about on each topic. I never really got into depths of certain holidays that are someone smoking. Never really got into a lot of things when discussing Labor Day or certain holidays, and just to hear the word labor in itself is just horrifying, because labor to me is something that can be very seem very painful, or even just the word just came to me, can seem very that's a word that came to me. I'm trying to get clarity of it. Taxing on the body and the mind and so forth. So those who probably don't study astrology, but a lot of how I do a lot of things, I realizing is I really, as a Gemini moon, or just having moon in some type of communication, I really realize I have to create a life around mercurial things, meaning communications, things dealing with intellect, psychology, on and on and on. You can go into depth and research about that, but I realize I'm really creating my own form of therapy. I go to therapy at the same time, this is very therapeutic for me because I'm doing it for me, but at the same moment I'm doing it for we. So when I come here and express it, it's just another form of getting it out in a healthy way, and also not having shame and guilt around what it is that I'm expressing, and doing it fucking unapologetically. I would sit here and say this in front of anybody else, but being that we're in a shift of how millenniums do things now, where we naturally are going to things digitally rather than having the opportunities where I could have wished I could have had this conversation with a mother or father or someone. But being that a lot of this highlighting the mother wound, or the wounded masculinity played out from the mother wound, and seeing how now, again, just being called to do these very things and talk about them has allowed me to pretty much recreate my lifestyle and so forth. After even just reading, that's what I was getting to, being a Gemini moon or just things like that, I recognize how I love researching. I love looking up things. I love intellectual conversations. One of the things I've learned over time, like coming from a mother wound of trauma and so forth, is that being verbally abused, I now prioritize having healthy dialogue more than anything. And that's the balance between going through this healing process and shifting through different perspectives and mindsets and evolution. I was like, wow. At a time, I remember I would allow disrespect or a lower vibrational type relationship, or just things where I did not have boundaries, and now I had to reinforce within myself, build upon that daily, and then also, most importantly, learning to have a healthy dialogue with myself. That to where I even do it now with my princess, and still deal with my son, even though he's small. But I know kids can still listen and hear. Also, with that mother wound has also shown me how I was spoken to during my upbringing, and then also how my approach to the feminine or the matriarchal has also I've had to unlearn the way I approach, whether that's aggressively, not knowing how aggressive the approach is, or even more gentle, because the feminine attributes of who we are is nurturing. It's again, it's like a current. It's calm, but also there's that you can say destructive or chaotic side to everything. So that's still one thing where I had to learn that it doesn't always have to come out a certain way. It doesn't always have to be so come off destructive or like as an attack. That I've had to unlearn and relearn through myself, and also rewire my mindset, rewire my nervous system, rewire how I approach life, how I see things, how the wounded aspect of how I viewed women, and then unconsciously developing these behavior patterns from a subconscious way of others' belief systems or my own, and then taking that with me until now, like realizing like, whoa, this has been my current life, or this present moment has shown as a result of that. So how could I change that? So this topic right here, as you can see, I came across on Instagram, which I was like, you know what, this is very, very, very vital in these moments right now, where we're highlighting wellness and wellness all around, mentally, emotionally, physically. Like even me reading this shit, like again having a Gemini moon, I have to have like mental stimulation. I have to research or learn something or communicate, do something to where it's in that mercurial energy. And with that, that's, it may sound wild, but that's how I'm able to, you could say, like rest or feel a sense of satisfaction or a gratitude, because I live through the way of like how things communicate, or how it's almost like the wind, just here, there, all over, and so forth. And it's like, that's one thing I've learned on my moon aspect of who I am. But on the surface, if we're looking at Western astrology, being a Scorpio, that's still, if you know more aspects to a Scorpio, like the rebirth, the being reborn through your life, your experiences, and so forth, and on, and then gradually evolving from what was sent to destroy me. But the levels of Scorpio, like you have the ego, the scorpion, other things like the phoenix. So I feel like I'm at that stage now with this phoenix energy, is how that is something that I've embodied more and more now, because everything that was sent to destroy me, I'm literally being reborn or rebirthed, like using it to live my life more consistently on a harmonious and balanced and prosperous way or narrative. And it's challenging because healing is not fucking easy, bro. It's not something that's pretty. It's very uncomfortable. It can hit you in any moment. Certain layers, certain aspects of yourself, you're like, whoa, I didn't even know this was there. I didn't even know I was going through this. I didn't know this was connected to how I approach things, my actions, my finances, my emotions, so many things. And so with that, it just brings more awareness around how now I'm at this place where a lot of my deepest root causes of childhood trauma, I'm even more diving into where at a time where I would distract myself from a relationship. I'm getting more clarity on even how certain relationships came to be. I'm getting more clarity on how a lot of these things are playing out, the characters in my life, the people. Getting more perspective and a bigger picture on even how I view myself. And with that, here we are. So this topic right here, again, I came across earlier, and I was like, I have to talk about this. I have to share this. I had to feel it first, and I'm still probably going to feel more of it after I'm feeling it now. Because I don't know what's in the air during this shift, during this collective shift and so forth. But it has a lot to do with the fact of like Jupiter being in Cancer right now, this climate of things ancestral, things mother, expanding. I was telling someone this, like, if you don't follow astrology, that's fine, but those who resonate with the fact that this Jupiter transit being in Cancer, and Cancer being the mother, the matriarchal, all things centered around the feminine and energy aspect and how it's played out. And Jupiter being a planet of expansion, exposing, or expansion and, you know, expanding, abundance, prosperity. And with that, again, there's other ways you can look at it, because it's a lot of it's taught in ways to where it's just to give people this sense of like, oh, it's always good or bad, but in reality, it's an energy. So I always said that depending on where people are energetically, depending on where people are in their life, how they look at the mother, there will be an expansion, or, you know, things energetically expanding on the mother, you know, from that feminine to the masculine aspect. So this is why you hear me again press the motion on how the Cancer energy is being highlighted, and in us and everyone else, it can look different, it can feel different due to your experience, due to your personal experience in your childhood, due to your childhood development. And even if you did not go through something traumatic and you had a balanced home, there still will be a highlight to how you possibly could connect or, you know, engage with someone who have similar values, but at the same time, this Jupiter energy will bring it to a bigger highlighted on the stage, to where you see the woundedness of the mother, but then you'll be able to see on a grand scale the importance of the mother. You'll see a wounded, and then where we can evolve where the mother deserves to be. And meaning that when you hear me talk about how the mother and the matriarchal has been displaced or removed, then there's emphasis on that. There's going to be an energy around that, but also energy around the wounds of women, the wounds of the matriarchal, the wounds, you know, so forth. Again, expanding that to where it can no longer be ignored. It can no longer be hidden. And so, what else? So again, it can be looked at from so many different perspectives on how what a mother or the matriarchal energy represents in the world. Because once these transits happen, it happens globally. It happens astrologically. It happens, you know, in the astros. It happens in the spiritual. So that which has been hidden can no longer be hidden in the spiritual and also in the physical. So that's why a lot of things are unfolding within us. And this is why, like, me talking about my experience brings me back home to myself and what I've done matriarchally. So there's a highlight around my mother wounds, if that makes sense, when you're talking about Jupiter, when you're talking about expanding. So how could I expand that? Okay, when I'm looking at matriarchal, when I'm looking at the mother wound, when I'm looking at the wounded masculinity played out through both women and men, through how the matriarchal has enabled the patriarchal to be today. So you're going to see an expansion of that. You're going to see that in both a wounded and a holistic way. It's all to evolve us individually and as humanity. So with that, it's being able now to recognize that during this shift and where things are happening, how can we expand our lives? How can you can either, and this is the thing about reaping and sowing, what you put your energy towards during this Jupiter and Cancer transit, it will highlight a lot of it. It will highlight the fact of who's really supporting what, who really is. Jupiter is always going to expand whatever it is, and with that, it's going to be made very clear in these moments of how people are, how they view the mother, if that makes sense, and that starts with it again, starts inwardly. So how they view the mother will be emphasized, will be very clear. How people value and view the matriarchal. How the matriarchal has enabled a lot of what we see here today. A lot of these things will be right in front and center. And so that's very vital and important right now, because a lot of people are ignoring and want to ignore, but no longer can ignore that during these transits, it will highlight things ancestrally where you can reconnect to the essence of who you are. If it's Cancer energy, then you can reconnect to the mother within yourself, the mother that you maybe did not have growing up, the mother wound especially, to be able to acknowledge and create a different perspective on life, on how you are here to now change that narrative around mothering, parenting, being a guardian to yourself. No longer neglecting and abandoning the mother wound within you. So therefore, this can cause a split or almost like a physical separation with, the physical mother. So that being said, that's what's being highlighted right now. Again, Jupiter expands or highlights a lot of things to where we're giving our energy to, and where that energy goes and flows. And being that we're in the shift, a lot of us, again, giving grace to people, especially our women and men right now, that I will say in the darker communities who have been at the hand of, especially how the darker woman has been represented, how the origins of this country, how the woman in itself has been devalued, and then overall globally how the matriarchal has been displaced and removed from the very lifestyles of the mothers that you see, and then the women who have been ostracized and devalued in so many ways, and how that's played out through the system, and how they fed and drained our mothers and grandmothers of their internal resources, meaning they've been drained spiritually, physically, and so forth on so many levels, to where their exhaustion as women, it's our exhaustion. I'm exhausted like a motherfucker. Like, bro, I'm not even gonna hold you. As much as I feel like I want to go out there and do certain things, as y'all don't realize, like, as you're healing this shit, and that shit is not easy, it becomes so uncomfortable to where your body will tell you, sit your ass down, rest, or else. And the reason I emphasize on this so much is because I see when I'm able to sit and recognize, I'm able to be aware of the fact of I'll be able to see clearly what our women of different generations are going through. Just because this one, of elders doesn't have this perspective on like religious, doesn't mean that this mother, like right now in front of me, a mother that just had a baby, and just to see her up immediately, seeing her feet swell and all like that, For those that don't know, this is the setting of like being in a shelter and seeing these mothers that come in with multiple children, seeing how a lot of these systems was designed to keep them in a single mother mindset, to keep them codependent on these resources that has said to believe to create more things harmonious and balanced for them, and in reality it's creating them, being them in a loophole where I've heard from certain staff and people that a lot of people are repeat offenders in these said settings. Well, that highlights the fact that when you look at the bigger picture, when you don't prioritize the well-being of the woman, and if she doesn't feel safe, then most likely she's going to continue to do the same learned behavior patterns, have the same learned belief system from a mother or grandmother and so forth, and literally reenact these things ancestrally due to intergenerational traumas. So, I love this shit. So that being said, I'm able to recognize again, seeing a woman who just had a child, hearing about her experiences and so forth, and I'm like, wow, like seeing how women are taught to have multiple men, but in a way to where at what they perceive as benefiting them financially is not benefiting them emotionally. So being able to see a mother that's like fairly new to being a mother, and then having another little baby, that's another pattern that I've been seeing. It's like they're not even realizing, like never giving themselves time to rest, or because again how the things were created is that displacement of the father, where now the healing is happening in reverse, causing us, such as myself, to be a man who represents the patriarchal and reflect men collectively, and seeing how we have taken on this narrative, collectively, whether even the men who are unconscious of what they're doing, and even the men who are intentionally, due to their, ego and coming into their own power structures and how they use it to devalue the women, I still, in essence, represent the collective men, or the energy of that. But I also now realizing what is more dangerous is for a man who is healing and being able to hold himself accountable and take full accountability in what role he has played, and to no longer playing an extra in this grand scheme of things, or a movie-like aspect with the powers that ain't, or used to be, believing like this is how I'm supposed to be, this is how all men are supposed to be, and so forth. And no, that's why I cracked the code, that's why I shattered the illusion, because I'm able to, through my healing, through my removing layer after layer of myself, and then connecting to the patriarchal, and then seeing what's playing out through the matriarchal with women, being able to bridge the very things that at a point in time we couldn't. Whew. Shit, I love it. And so now it's like, it's not to judge people, it's to bring more awareness, to share this message, to let people know, like, they didn't know, you didn't even know that you were living out some shit that you didn't even realize, like, was learned behavior. You didn't even know what learned behavior, or the learned behavior pattern was. You didn't even realize, like, your whole life living out someone else's belief system other than your own, or other than independent thinking, other than you believing in yourself and realizing, like, you do know you don't need permission to be yourself, right? You do know that you came here to be everything and more. You are limitless. You do know that you've already known what you're here to do. You just had to remember. And that's what finding your purpose is. Your purpose has always been there. It's just we have been programmed to believe that our purpose is in our careers. Meaning that the false empowerment around what a purpose is, or what destiny is, and how that looks, and how that has a look of a specific way when I'm talking about career or position of power. I can honestly say I do not see a lot of people walking in their purpose, because a lot of them are believing that someone else's purpose is higher than theirs just because of their position in life. Just because this person has more finances, or of a certain class, then they automatically had to have walked into their purpose. That doesn't mean that, because you don't know what they've done to get there. You don't know what they've conjured. You don't know what type of vices they have. You don't know what comes behind that woman in that beautiful dress and so forth. I don't know what comes with that person. You don't know what comes with that man who have gained this success financially that you see on the surface, or this earthly status. You don't know what the fuck comes with that. You don't know what they've been ignoring and masking for so many years. And yes, they've come and gained a lot of earthly material things, but you do not know the deeper aspect of what comes with them. And guess what? No one warned us of this shit young. Like, hey man, you shouldn't mess around with her. Some people are like, oh yeah, no, we were encouraged to get into shit that made us collect more karma. Did you hear what I said? We were fucking encouraged to be in stuff knowing that it will make us collect more generational karma, or collect more karma, or delay our destiny, or even put us in a position where it distracts us from walking in our destiny and purpose. And this is, once you realize that it's a line. Before I even created this video, I was feeling so almost sluggish after reading it before. I feel more energized now, because that's how energy comes up. It'll come up, and when you don't acknowledge it, you can either it's almost like a sense of depression. Like when you repress or depress, like pressing something, it's like you can either, the depression is almost like you can either keep pushing it down, pressing it down, or you can let that shit come up and let it come out unapologetically. So for me, I was sitting here like, whoa, I was yawning, I was this and that, but once I start to transmute and alchemize that fucking energy, look at me now, flowing, feeling like I got clearer and lighter because I felt it, and I needed to feel it before I start speaking. Then now, I ain't even got into I ain't even gonna say the good part. I'm just now. That was the peak. I thought it was just supposed to be like this. That was just the peak. Or that was just that wasn't a little bit of it right now. Now I'm finna get into the great message of what I came here to really discuss. It's leading right into the fact of the grace of a lot of men. This is my message for the men here today. Especially for those who are in certain settings where you had to become the man of the house too soon. And no, this is not something I created. As you can see from the backdrop, this is therapy for BLKMEN, which I'm assuming is black men. So even with that, again, this is a page. I know the message that it's sending because, using the term black. Again, I'm grateful for the person in the platform and whomever's behind it. I always remind y'all that I stay away from the term black, but I do know people relate to that because I can relate, especially when it's something created for men of a darker shade, to where we can have something, a healthy outlet, and something that's relatable. Now, in other ways where it's being used to intentionally divide, this is where I stay away from. So when I say I stay away from black because it's an adjective, it's because on a deeper level, nationality-wise or even spiritual, I've known how when the frequency of black has been used for a low vibration to keep people divided, to keep people automatically categorized or at a lower state, or even devaluing them just because they are of a darker shade or considered black. So let's make that fucking clear. Cool. Boom. So gratitude even for the creators behind this, because again, I came across this. Outside of that, I'm honored to even share this message to bring y'all more into the world of someone who dealt with this. And again, this can be of men of other shades and other creeds who have to also experience this. My experience comes from my experience. My words, my experience comes from my experience. My message comes from my experience. And those who are in certain demographics where they had to be almost like a husband in a way, early, be responsible in a way too early. This shit had me tearing up. So this is again giving grace to the men who had to grow up too early and be the man of the house. Let me see. Let me go this way. You were called a man of the house before your voice changed, before your heart was ready, before your body knew rest. And it's wild because as I was reading this, I read it in there, but it's like I didn't really get a moment to process it. So it's like I was expressing to my partner the other day of like how, like, I don't think most people get the fact of how exhausted and tired we are emotionally, mentally, physically. Is because I've learned to realize, like, through the development of having such a unhealthy relationship with the mother and developing a mother wound, that automatically created an emotional disconnect for me within myself, and I've had to mother myself. I had to be more gentle with myself. And it's funny because I'm accepting more of when I rest that heals mother wounds, because it's like I'm resting not just for the representation of the patriarchal. I'm a representation of the matriarchal as well. So I'm resting for my mother. I'm resting for my father. I'm resting for the ancestors who could not come before me, because DNA wise or ancestral when I look at my ancestral blueprint or imprint, if you look at your life, there was a grandmother that had to meet a grandfather for your mother and father to be here to create you. Okay, you hold that energy. You don't have to look like someone. You still hold that energy of a restless mother. You still hold that fucking energy of a restless father or grandfather who, during the times of, I don't like to use the term slavery, so I'll say during the times of captivity or certain things ancestrally, a lot of them did getting rest. They did not get the rest that they deserve. So I've always told y'all, a lot of y'all, the unseen inheritance comes with the greatest wealth transfer. The unseen inheritance is also about what you spiritually inherited, emotionally, mentally. And then also that playing out into the physical. So your left side being ruled by spiritually the mother, and then your right side being the father, then this makes sense when you look more deeper into how and what it is you're here to do. And it makes sense to me because I realize how much I've said before, how much my left side has, when I rested or sat down more, how it shows me how dysregulated my nervous system has been, and why I've had so much more pain on my left side than my right side. And so with that, it's because due to my father not being there, or due to the fact of what I went more through, the experience of with my mother, my left side has held more energy due to the fact of what I went through more with women, what I went through more with the matriarchal. And being that was a distorted way, and having to grow up and be the man of the house early, being left at home and abandoned early physically and emotionally, then I had to fend for myself, where I had to do things a little more earlier than a man would, and than a little boy should, than some men even when they were in their childhood. In their adulthood. So when it says you were called a man before your voice changed, like, bro, I was still trying to have fun and be outside, instead of like when you grow up in an abusive environment, it's like you having to be responsible for the fact of when seeing a mother and father go to a jail or go somewhere, then who's there to be with you? I mentioned before how my grandmother would come and get my sisters, and they felt like just because I was a boy that I would be alright. Or I could handle the load just because I was a boy. Or being that my sisters were not as safe, being that all of us wasn't safe at the time because of the environment, then the unsafe environment, my grandmother at the time felt like, well, the girls didn't have to be there, but he can endure a little bit more, which is fucking crazy. But so let's see here. Let's continue. While this is it. While others played, you protected. While others slept peacefully, you worried. While others were nurtured, you became the nurturer. And I know a lot of probably young men or women can relate to this too, because it's, put yourself there. It's not just for men. It's for the collective. It's for everyone. Because a lot of women had to, and I see it play out now, where you've had a mother who had multiple children, and then you got the eldest child being responsible early when they didn't have to. So it's like you're putting your burdens off, and this is why I hold fucking people accountable. It's not okay. And as much as, like, this is why I tell you I like to hold women accountable and men, because it pisses me off, and I hold rage in me, because, which I'm letting it out, is that y'all want to talk about being accountable. Y'all doing the same shit that you did to your grandmother. It's no difference. The energy is the fucking same. It's not allowing these kids to go out and play, because a lot of y'all, and this is not all women demographics, because some of them have had unfortunate incidents where they could have been sexually abused, and that led to them in certain behavior patterns or learned behaviors where they didn't know anything else but to give their body. I recognize that. At the same moment, there are women who, again, holding them accountable, who purposely use the system, and they can be pissed all they want to, but no one is exempt from karma and divine justice, who have used the system, no matter their creed and color, but intentionally use it, and then allow their kids to go through suffering and so forth, to deprive them of their fucking joy, of them playing, because you want to chase men, or you feel like substance abuse is more important than being a mother, or you feel like being out in the fucking streets, not being responsible for your children as men and women is more important. Being out in the street, you feel like that's, man, I've seen it. I've seen cousins and stuff. I'm like, bro, I recognize it now. I'm saying, like, y'all niggas love the streets more than you loved yourself and your kids. Cause I'm gonna say love yourself, because that triggers down to being there for your kids. No, what? So again, now you got kids running the streets, having to protect themselves, and then go home and having to be in more unsafe environments where they didn't even know how to protect themselves until they got into teenage, became a teenager, where you see them run away, because they're trying to run away from the fact of, all this resentment and rage is built up, which it triggers over to them potentially joining gangs or being part of clubs or whatever it is. And a lot of these mothers and fathers don't have no control, because, again, you had no self-control. You had no discipline. Let's be honest. This isn't a culture that teaches us about that. We've had to learn it. That's why I prioritize it now. A lot of discipline comes in the fact of, like, seeing the situation and realize, like, oh my gosh. I realized, like, for me, one of the biggest things with seeing this and learning this now is, like, man, has someone really shown me the importance of sexual discipline? I don't regret at all having children. I don't feel shame at all. A lot of this had to happen to where I'm here now, to where I can face these things where my mother and father didn't, or your mother and father didn't, who didn't know the importance of sexual discipline, or honoring their that part of themselves where it is sacred, or just not being protected young by someone, and so now they've had to protect themselves young after being sexually abused, or they didn't know how to protect themselves as they grew into adulthood, so they overextended, and so forth. So now you have a lot of adults who buried their childhood. So now a lot of us have had kids, and now we feel a lot of guilt and shame around, like, the same way we carried it from our mothers and fathers. They feel guilt and shame around the fact that they never had a childhood. They never had fun. They never, they had to protect others and grow up with an early responsibility. Y'all don't realize we're living this shit out generationally until now. So again, while others in certain demographics, while they slept peacefully, a lot of us worried about the fact of what was going to happen. Was mom and daddy going to fight tonight? Stuff like that. While others were nurtured, you became the nurturer. Exactly. I told my partner the other day, I'm like, I'm finally knowing what it is to build upon things where, where's the fucking compassion? Why don't, as darker men, or just us, I'm speaking for a darker man, why aren't we nurtured as much through our healing stage? Where is the genuine support for us? Why aren't we supported? And you know why I started to realize? Like, I started to sit back and I saw a lot of women out in the divine side. I want you to see them. I was like, see what? I want you to see the fact of, can you really see the little girl in them? I'm like, why do I have to? Why? Why do I have to? And the reason being is because you'll see where the root cause of their hatred comes from. It's from their experiences with men, and most likely their experience with their father. And then also how the father has been displayed spiritually also. When you displace the mother spiritually and then displace and remove the father physically, oh my God, do y'all hear what the fuck I just said? We have women, when you remove the mother spiritually from what the origins of shit is, when you remove the mother spiritually, it's like removing a woman's intuition, so she don't know and how to honor her discernment in life. So she don't know how to grow her daughters to honor their intuition. So therefore, being that for some of them, when the father is removed physically, because the mother, I told you energy, mother, son, father, daughter. Once you remove that mother energy, mama represents the water. That is spiritual. That is feminine energy first. And then it operates through the masculine aspect. There coming a sun to illuminate the things in the physical. That's masculine. Then you have the father. That's still masculine because the boy grows into the father. But he still holds that mother energy, that matriarchal energy within him as a father. Then that father, guess what? When you see the daughter, when he creates a daughter, he's also in the metaphorical spiritual sense, he's still creating a mother energy that was first carried from the mother through the son to the father. What I'm breaking down here is that you realize that every man and woman, or a species, or people, no matter, outside of gender, they hold feminine and masculine energy. Everyone. So when we get down to the nitty gritty and the deeper aspect of that, imagine how many women never got to fucking play. Imagine how many grandmothers never got to play. They were forced to protect early when the father was removed. Imagine how many mothers, when you see on here, never got to sleep peacefully because of the environments and demographics of the self-hatred or racism. People coming in, unaliving their kids. People coming in, burning, destroying everything that they built. They could never rest. And that's what I see with my grandmother. I know people right now, they rest with the fucking TV on all night. Because they have nightmares. And their night terrors or nightmares ain't nothing but subconscious fears wanting to show them. And being that they never got to rest or never got to know what it is to navigate their emotions, guess what ended up happening? They don't know how to be led to the emotion of what they feel. So even when they rest, they play music or certain things or leave the TV on because their soul or their spirit never still get the rest at night. Then they get up and go to work. So again, they're still numbing, pushing, pressing down more and more memories, suppressed memories and emotions ancestrally. So let's continue. While others were nurtured, they became nurturers. I'm speaking for myself and the collective. When I recognize the fact that when my mother was not there for a lot of us, for my sisters, young me, you gotta realize like that whether you remove mother and father, or let me go back to this. When I say you remove the mother spiritually and then you remove the father physically, you gotta realize like where the healing is happening right now. Once you remove the father in a son or a daughter's life, it's going to play out through them differently spiritually. That creates a father wound not only for both, but that mother wound can look different as well, because for that father being removed, that perspective on protection looks different from a daughter lens, whose resources is naturally dependent during a child. That attention towards her from a father to a daughter is a necessity. It's a guidance. It's a tool that she realized, like, how am I supposed to see these men if you're not there? How am I supposed to see visual, logically? How am I supposed to, I got these emotions, but you as a father, how are you supposed to mirror back to me logic? That's what the brain, logic and emotion. So once you have removed the mother aspect, and then there's been a false perception of what the mother represents, again, you're removing compassion, you're removing nurturing, you're removing empathy, you're removing the most important things that keeps humanity, the collective, the communities, and everything balanced, flowing naturally, organically. So again, a lot of our mothers have never been fucking nurtured. A lot of them never been nurtured. When you talk about and you hear the treatment of even how throughout generations or ancestrally how genocide and that's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. And how people have been exiled out of their countries and migrated, from eons and generations. This has caused mothers to not know how to nurture themselves, and they didn't know how to nurture their daughters. So what you're seeing displayed is little girls who don't know how to nurture, and then they grow into motherhood. When you see them have children, they don't know how to nurture themselves, so they've never been nurtured, so they continue a cycle of never nurturing their children. So that's when you see a form of abuse. This is when you see a form of neglect, abandonment, all these other things that, again, some of them, it's not that they want to be abusive. A lot of them develop these learned behaviors because of the rage, the unresolved things within them. And so guess what? It ends up playing out. And so when they don't realize, they don't want to hurt. I know a lot of mothers and women, they don't want to hurt their children. That's the last thing they want to do. I talked to a mother in here, and she was asking another mother, like, how do you discipline a boy? And it's so funny because I'm like, wow. You know how many mothers have that question? How do you discipline a boy? And then you'll have people come along due to a belief system, due to a previous generation, tell this mother, you should whip your child. You should beat him. That's what my grandma did. That's the first thing people say. That's what my father did. And you still have elders here today. Man, I'll take this person back there. I'll do this and do that to them. Why? What? How? When you look at the equation of that shit, how does that even solve the problem? How isn't love the solution of hate? You got to display a behavior of hatred because you hate yourself and don't have compassion. So when you look at the strategy of how humanity is played out, you got hate fueling hate, and then you're mad at me because I'm choosing to love myself, and I'm choosing to instill in my kids and others who come across me, who come in connection with me, because no one crossed me. Let's, just disperse that. Yeah. So who comes in connection with me, and I realize that I mirror to them a love that they either never seen, a love, a beacon of light, or something that is unfamiliar. And this is why a lot of us who walk this journey are attacked, who make people so uncomfortable, because their uncomfortability is because they're used to what's familiar. Some people are familiar with people talking to them disrespectfully. Some people are familiar to a man or a woman being abusive verbally, emotionally, mentally, financially. They are familiar with that. So therefore, you're pissing them off. You're angering them. All these things, they have everything to do with them and not you. You see how that works? You see how you come up with a solution in your life? That realizing that love and authenticity and integrity for yourself can make your life more blissful, but at the same time, due to the resistance of others, due to their persistence and consistency of seeing shit inconsistent, now they can't make sense of what is really consistent in their life. So they've created a narrative around dysfunction, consistent dysfunctionality and imbalance and unstableness, mentally, emotionally, physically. Don't get me started. I tell you, I really do this shit. Let's continue. So they mad at me because of that? You mad at me because I'm choosing to love myself and being authentic with me first, to be real with me? Woo! But no one ever asked, what did that title cost you? What part of your childhood was buried in beneath that burden? Man, listen, I'm gonna try to ask yourself that. What did that title cost you? And it's so funny because a lot of y'all, it's so fucking mentally disgusting, or like the mental illness around how we took pride in being responsible young, and then now we're sitting here, a lot of us recognizing like, wow, what did that cost you? For one, that shit cost me my fucking peace growing up trying to be responsible early for what I didn't even have to be. It cost me my peace. It cost me, restless nights of sleep. It cost me, so much. So now I'm doing my best now to just, man, let me honor this rest that I'm getting, no matter where I'm at. It gets better. Let me be honest with myself and say, look, no, I don't want, I'm not looking to befriend or be in a relationship or do certain things. Being honest. Oh, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this. My body's telling me, not right now. So yeah, because we grew up in a society where, again, when we were forced young, you see a society now trying to force us to believe the same narrative, the same narcissistic shit. We have had a society that's run by narcissists, and we've been enabling it until no more. Let's be honest. Y'all don't want to be fucking honest, because it makes y'all uncomfortable. But I'll be honest for you. For me, and then let you know. Yeah, we have been forced so early to where now it's like you're going to force us to now take things that are not healthy for us. You're going to force us to be this and that, and you're going to force me that I should be angry because I'm darker. You're going to force me to believe that I came from slavery. You're going to force me to believe that all of my ancestors, didn't fight back, didn't rebel. Bullshit. You're going to force me to believe that that I should live in poverty or have a poverty mindset because what? Because who says so? Who? Well, who outdates them in their belief system? Oh, okay. So again, ask yourself, what parts of your childhood was buried beneath the burden? What are you still holding on to that becomes burdensome? Because a lot of us put our fucking happiness, we put so much to the side for the responsibilities of our mothers and fathers or somebody in our lineage. And what has that cost us? Now we're realizing, like, to even be present, developing a dysregulated nervous system. It's like, now what? I can see it play out so much through women, through the certain characters I see today. Knowing that they're tired, they don't know how to sit down. How much they put their kids in responsibilities early. Having their kids, watch other kids. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've seen it. While they go out there and do their things, and some of it, how it plays out, they're thinking that they'll escape through substance abuse. That's why when you look at how certain things was created in the systems, whether it be like alcoholism and substance abuse, we're coming from generations that, being that they never had a childhood, they've literally buried their childhood and adulthood. So now they're trying to escape and perceive joy or fun through substance abuse, through escaping through careers, escaping through the idea of this is what's fun. But yet you still have so much shit that's repressed. You're suppressing it through the careers, through the substance abuse, and so forth. You're not prioritizing your well-being, so you don't know what fun looks like. You don't know. And so this is why they convince us and try to get us to believe that you should go work your life away and continue to be consumed in adulthood and parenting and bills and shit like that, and forget about your childhood. So one of my most challenging things right now is like, how the fuck could I create from my childhood, my experiences, what brings me joy? How can I create a life around that? Because the reason why this is so vital right now, because I am doing it, and I'm tapping more into it to where now I'm recognizing, like, if I don't tap into this now and face it, then wouldn't I be depriving my children of their joy? That's what eventually happens. A lot of people don't know. Once you start having children and stuff, whether due to whatever circumstances, just because you didn't have the finances or certain things doesn't mean that the people that do have the white picket fence or so forth, they still are part of a structure where they still are consumed by adulthood. They still have been a part of a system that bamboozled them in never having fun. A child don't care about posting their fucking, you know what I mean, in the sense of like, a child don't care about, the innocence of them doesn't care about posting their life for people to see. I see that as people pleasing. I'm not saying how things hasn't been digitized for people to, it has its purpose for people to come into their enlightenment, for people to come into their awareness and so forth. I'm talking about from an energy in a place where it's to not bully, but make people feel, how the media has been used is to make people feel that they are less valuable if they don't live in this community, if they don't have this status, if they're not this celebrity. Bullshit. Because they too have went through similar shit. They too, just because of their status and they got their fame and so forth, they too have dealing with the same shit. They just will never tell you. They just hide it better. They hide it better with their money. And they, just because they have more money, they hide it better with their fashion and shit like that. Let's be real. So this was deep right here. It says, you were never meant to be a surrogate husband. Oh my gosh. You were never meant to carry adult responsibilities in a child's frame. You were never meant to grow up grieving in silence. And this is a lot of us right now, majority of the narcissistic templates of this country and other countries that were used to keep the importance of, again, when I say when the mother was removed spiritually and the father was removed physically, that created an imbalance on both parts to see a wounded society, a wounded collective, and also a wounded masculinity played out. So again, when you don't have mothers who are nurturing to themselves or don't know how to be nurturing, you won't have a nurturing society. You won't have a compassionate society. You will have a violent driven society, a narcissistic driven society that's built on, oh, how much views and attention I can get. And in reality, a lot of that shit ain't even geared towards really building off, it's really built, we built a structure from low self-esteem. We haven't built a structure from self-sufficiency and learning to be self-sustainable through views. And I don't mean just through views, I mean how people parade themselves for the fucking view. How people devalue themselves, humiliate themselves spiritually and physically for contractual reasons. For people who buy into these contracts, whether industry-wise and so forth, they go through the humiliation rituals. It's humiliating. And there's no difference in the media. You humiliate people to prey on their woundings, to prey on their childhood, and so forth. And what that does, it makes you feel, can make you feel energetically less valuable. So now, being that you never had someone to teach you the importance of self-esteem and building confidence, that you feel like you got to go find your confidence in finances, chasing the bag. You feel like you got to go find your confidence in that relationship. You feel like the only way your confidence can be built or you to prove yourself is to go out here and build something off a false identity, off something that is not even going to be sustainable because it was built more on the physical, or it first came from a spiritual internal place that was never secure. So as much as you think you built it outwardly physically and you bust your ass to get it, eventually it's going to crumble internally. You're going to see it crumble externally because you're disconnect internally. A lot of society did not build shit off of empathy for others. The monetary system it isn't centered around having empathy. It isn't centered around humanitarianism. A lot of stuff systematically was not built around compassion and empathy. It wasn't built from a place of even women. If you look at this patriarchal system, it wasn't literally created and built from a place of authenticity, compassion, meaning like a balanced place. Because if it was, you will see it play out in a more balanced way. So anywho, let's continue. So now what you're seeing play out right now, being that, again, speaking from a man's perspective, I realized I said in my book, like my mother's side dude, or even her husband in an enmeshment or even emotional incessive way. And this is how a lot of women don't even realize their distorted way of a man and how they view men due to their father wounds. They either play this out unconsciously through their sons, and they never have a self-respect for themselves or compassion even for men today. Because a lot of them hold resentment towards a system that was put into place to purposely remove the man, so that you realize like you have this resentment and anger towards him because of a fucking system, judicially or whatever it is that was in place to literally keep him away from you, so that you never have protection, so that you never, when you have that balance, never get to sit with yourself, so you can learn to have more compassion for yourself, so you can learn to reflect on the shit that you've been going through. Again, all this shit was created for that. Because once you remove, again, the father that protects the daughter, that protects the mother, that gives this, offers these things also emotionally and spiritually, again, when a man, from my perspective, I feel like when a man is there, when I say like my partner and I'm like, hey, take a moment to yourself, in this and I'm telling y'all like how scary this can be for a lot of women who don't even realize unconsciously or consciously how she's developed a belief system of being so hyper independent that right there is a wounded masculinity being displayed from a wounded femininity, because either she never had a mother who showed her or who instilled in her the importance of honoring her intuition and being compassionate towards herself. So you create a society around men, or enable young men to not have compassion for themselves, to not be emotionally intelligent, to not honor their emotions, to not know how to flow with life. So that now that these boys are not only hyper, they develop a hyper masculinity, a hyper independence through a hypersensitive, distorted way of being. And what I mean by that is like when you are enabled from a mother womb, you will develop this hypersensitivity and then build upon that something what you call a kingdom, and it doesn't even value the feminine attributes of yourself or even women. So that's why you see people sitting here trying to portray themselves to be what it is, all this shit about respecting women and honoring women, and in reality, bro, from a place of someone who lied, who didn't even realizing, you develop these learned behaviors from your childhood, and then you're sitting here being lying to yourself, lying to other people, foundations that are crumbling. Because again, honesty and attention, I gotta find out that other one of, with women, with that, them being ruled by Venus, now you sitting here realizing everything that you built, your grandfather built, and all these other men and so forth, due to the fact of a lot of them built their shit to gain capital, to gain monetary, to gain a sense of power that does not reflect anything that values not only women and our daughters, but it doesn't value feminine principles and attributes, things that are built on honesty and giving the attention to our daughters and mothers. Whew. So again, no matter their shade, they all are a part of this shit. All of them. I tell them right to their face, they can look at this, they'll be uncomfortable as fuck, they'll feel rageful. Some people won't even want to take you out because they feel like, well, why wasn't I giving the message? Why does he got to deliver it? Who is he? You know, all that rage bait and shit. All of that envy and you know, I tell you, we've been in a modern day society where y'all don't realize, like, bro, I am not like men, but I am a man. I know what it is. It's more than just a man. It's more than just a gender. The energies that's playing out. You will have men purposely, intentionally. They do not give a fuck if they're not holding you accountable. Same goes for women. Men, if they're not holding you accountable, if they're not taking accountability of their actions and who they are, get them out of your life. Remove them. This is a season. Take a step to the side, to the back, or whatever. Take a step within yourself and realize you're dealing with a modern day women. This is where grace comes in, and men. Again, when you're looking at this, men who have, when they were younger, put in positions as if they were their mother's husband or boyfriend, and so forth. They go out there and do their dirt, and they come back home to their sons, never giving them honesty, never being truthful with them, and they hide. Imagine women that went out there who never chose to heal, who did certain things, and had children, and then come and lie. You know, all that energy around a distorted mother. I'm talking about the energy of women who will go out there and be mischievous or being manipulative and get men caught up in murderers. Do y'all not realize that? Y'all don't realize like how much I'm holding y'all accountable of the energy right that has been playing out. This how dangerous you can be as women if you're not conscious of your fucking patterns. You have been enabling the fact that you don't give a fuck about yourself, so you don't care about the futures of our sons and the ones that will come fathers. I'm talking from a man who is fucking healing, who been through shit with women who are not unconscious, who are unconscious of their behavior patterns, who will get you caught up in something, who will, due to the fact that they don't know how to manage their emotions, or they didn't come from a mother who knew to teach them, or they didn't see a mother talk to a man healthily or so forth, and all of that, and then get other men involved, and then you have someone getting hurt physically, emotionally, mentally. Y'all don't realize this shit has been carried. Then you got men who grew up having to carry responsibilities early, then they've had to grieve in silence, and guess what that does? These are the same men in the same demographics. Can't wait to flip out. Can't, impulsive. And guess what? Throw their whole, not even just their life away. They literally don't realize the effect it will have. Even if they knew it or not, they don't realize the effect it will have on that child. And that mother, if she don't fucking heal and do certain things, guess what? She'll continue to loop with the next man. And guess what? Do the same thing. Your value is not what you carry. Your manhood or your womanhood is not proven by your pain. We've been told this narrative so much that we have to just, pain has to be our first narrative. That's bullshit. No. Our value is not so much of what we have carried, because a lot of the shit we've been carried is not even ours. It's not even ours. That's what intergenerational trauma is. It's not even ours. It is ours, but it's not ours. It's not ours to carry no longer. That's what healing does. Is to acknowledge it and move forward. It's funny because I'm seeing someone right now that, made these false accusations against, tried to basically intervene in a situation or just my family and spread a rumor that not to be true. And then, even though it got handled, I realized, like, it's wild when I say this, to where when you see a wounded woman, or you see women who don't have, like, let's say, a man present, I'm able to recognize and see, like, okay, I don't know the detail. Why are you in that situation? Again, I don't know if they could have went through something abusive. I don't know if they could have, I don't know all those things. But when I realize, like, when certain people try to come in with certain things to disrupt the harmony in what you're trying to create, nah, we're gonna have to handle that. But other than that, I start to see the little girl, the attention that she probably didn't get, or the attention, the jealousy that you'll see with what you have structurally. People will try to come in and try to infiltrate what you created. And that's the thing about a lot of you, let's say some of you or a lot of you right now that are healing, or even if you're not in a partnership, be very mindful that on that journey with that, you will have people try to infiltrate you, even if you're in dealing with, whether you want to call yourself single or classify yourself as that, or just being with yourself. You will still have people try to infiltrate that, to disrupt that process, and not realizing like that's a part of the plan, but at the same time, it's being able to be secure and recognize that this person or whatever they're dealing with, I don't have to take on it. That's their karma. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to accept that. And so I was able to recognize the fact of like, wow, some people will try to do things that, some people will try to do things purposely to get to your spouse or partner to disrupt the flow that you're already in. And that can happen through family, friends, or whomever. And then even with that, it's to get to you. I've seen this happen where I've noticed on the healing journey, or I've noticed on like breaking generational curses or cycles, is that as you're doing that, you will have things spiritually or even people physically try to infiltrate and keep you in a place to remind you like you think you're going somewhere, or you're no better than me, or all these devaluing and low vibrational things that really doesn't have substance at the end of the day. It's to remind you of the fruit that you're producing. It's to remind you of the seeds that you're sowing, because the seeds that they're sowing by trying to intrude or invade your privacy, however it looks, that's the seed they're planting. And guess what? They'll reap from that, the very fruit, the harvest, and it'll play out. It'll always backfire. I don't know who that's for, but y'all need to like know that. And also, in that process of, again, you being a woman that's healing is so valuable. You being a man that's healing is so valuable. Let's see. Today we honor the boy in you, or the girl in you, the one who still needed to be seen, the one who deserves to rest, the one who gets to rise again. Let me tell y'all something. And sometimes I did not even know what the fuck I was finna do, how I was finna do it, and so forth. And I had to remind myself, rest for the journey ahead, because when I catch myself, and I'm recognizing this now, how some people are so bothered by what is unfamiliar. It's like you gotta realize, being anything indifferent or authentic, or just try to be true to yourself in moments like this, I tell y'all, it comes with resistance, because it's almost like people trying to pull or like grab onto you in any way to attach themselves to your image, to your identity, to anything to you in whatever way, to say that they either knew you, wow, I'm channeling this shit right now, to even say that they like, even in some ways where they want to try to blackmail you, or even create a false identity around that they knew you or known of you and so forth, just to even, for a sense of empowerment, to enable their woundedness, or even to fuel their ego. And when I saw this today, like I was telling myself, like, honoring, it brought tears to my eyes, and I was crying, because I was like, wow, even this new life or this new way of being is a form of a new journey, man, because it's wild. I'm like, yo, what I thought was familiar, I thought I was gonna have to stay in most of my life. No, newness in the unknown, it walking through things with integrity, it does. You start to, the divine will lead you to uncharted territory, or unfamiliar territory, but it's all worth it. What's unfamiliar, because a lot of people are so comfortable, and a lot of the generation before us, they are so content and comfortable in their communities. They'll even get positions in their hometowns and so forth, to where they have to, the energy there, they just stay stagnant, or that's what makes them comfortable. And so this is where, again, a lot of you don't realize a lot of your support won't come from certain hometowns or certain environments, because people are so comfortable to where when you do try to seek that support or get that acknowledgement through something, they'll either gatekeep, or they'll breadcrumb you, or just walk away or do something to sabotage it intentionally, just so they can say, well, I did my best, or I did what I could, or because they don't know a way of how to do it authentically, because they never were shown. The one who deserves rest, that hit me a lot, because again, as I'm prioritizing my well-being and rest, I'm realizing like that comes with me like trying to build a life around how could I build a life around this financially, but also how could I build a life around it with my creativity. How could I build a life around what I love to do? And that takes a lot of integrity, because it takes a lot of patience, resilience, a lot of grace with yourself, and also recognizing the familiar patterns, or the patterns that have kept you in a place of stagnation, or feeling like you cannot progress. That's what's one of the most important things I realize. Is like, what behavior patterns, or what patterns have you learned, what way of thinking, what way of approaching things, what way of whatever has kept one in a place of feeling like they're inadequate, or not valuable, or not worthy of a different experience, or a different life experience, or a different journey ahead. So, and that's something you gotta dig within yourself. It will show you internally, but also the environment around you. And this is where you learn to rise again from your circumstances. Let's see here. So yeah, today is a day not just about labor, it's about liberation. You're allowed to grieve the boyhood or girlhood, or childhood that you missed. Wow, you are allowed to grieve the childhood that you missed. That's probably going to be the title. You're allowed to rest from the weight you've carried. I allow myself to grieve the childhood that I did not experience. I allow myself to grieve. I allow myself to rest from the weight I carried of the responsibilities of others. My mother, my grandmother. Like, I am allowed to rest now. I give myself permission to rest now for the weight that I carried that was not mine, that did not belong to me. I let it go. I unpack it. I return to sender. So it is, so be it. Ashe. Man. Whew. And when I say that, y'all don't realize the bigger picture, to where this is what I'm really building and creating. It's so that I don't have to feel like I've seen a lot of people feel like their kids are burdens. And it's not that they don't love their children. I've recognized the fact that they didn't know how to love themselves, so they didn't know how to love their children. So with that, their actions, sometimes they're confused around trying to figure out, like, they don't know anything else but to perceive life to be just around providing things materialistically, if that makes sense. Or as long as I have them, get them a home, and they're alright. Or as long as I get them all the material things and so forth. And what that shows to me, what that really highlights for me, is that, and I've seen this with a lot of people, even relatives, they'll buy their kids so much stuff materialistically. And this is, again, they can be around my age, but it really, again, is intergenerational, to where they think they're buying their kids so much new stuff, or so much of the newest and so forth. And you see this economically, how it was designed. Because not only does it has preyed on our wounding as children, but it's an emotional disconnect there, to where they'll deprive their children of experience even when they get the new shit. Like, let's say they get something new, but they won't even allow their children to have fun or joy, or to mess up the sneakers. A lot of us can connect to that. Like, you better not fuck with them sneakers. Why you got them school shoes on? Why you do this, da-da-da? And I'm like, wow. And I realized, like, a lot of things where I'm able to recognize now. I'll do a part 2 to this on the inner child. This video I came across with this brother, and it gave me insight even on my experience. Like I said, this is a journey of constant learning yourself, self-improvement, restoration. We're being restored through our innocence, y'all. Don't ever be hard on yourself for what you did not know. I couldn't imagine be a lot of people in these sports and shit who have played so many fucking years. Like, y'all don't realize, when I say I have clients that y'all think is high upper echelon, or, you know, people of higher class, let me tell you something. Nobody's higher than the most high. So with that, we all are valuable. They still got this shit. The energy overall collectively is still similar. I couldn't imagine being a lot of these people who are so consumed by their careers and work and so forth that they really have not got to enjoy their childhood experiences, or even with their children. A lot of them people in the spotlights, dog, if they only could get a fucking rock and throw that bitch and hit that light and knock it out just so they can live their life. I don't think you heard me. I know a lot of them people right now. Let me point at the camera. I know a lot of them right now wish that they can get something, even if they have to use a pew pew to shoot that fucking light out so that spotlight can be off of them. Y'all don't even know this, bro. You know how many celebrities or artists right now, bro, wish they could have had a life that they it's not even that they wish they could have a life that you have. It's the freedom or liberation they wish they had. But not only even just that, some of them wish they can go the fuck outside and the attention wouldn't be on them. Y'all don't even know how heavy the energy is, and not even just America, but the energy globally, collectively, that America has created for so many of people or humanity to have y'all believing. Y'all are so, this society is so hypersensitive that y'all are so emotionally disconnected that y'all don't even have compassion for people on the street. Y'all don't even have compassion anymore. That you have to falsely create what you call them charities and just show people doing stuff for people as if that isn't already fucking normal, as if people aren't already giving it to people, as if we gotta sit here and record and make people see, like, look at this person, he's a great person, he did this. Why the fuck do we, because when it comes to source of the creator, most high, however you want to describe, that shit does not matter. Because when you look at the child, at the essence of a child and the innocence, they give anyway. They're the most vibrant, they're the most purest, they're the most protected, even young. It's just we have been so fucking tainted, and the waters of our mothers have been so tainted. The divine mother, collectively, the energy has been so tainted and toxic, to where now that we're cleansing ourselves of the impurities, of the organisms or the dis-ease, what's been causing the dis-ease. Y'all don't realize a lot of people are a representation of the dis-ease right now. Some elders, some people, the powers that ain't, that's the dis-ease that has been causing the discomfort. And in order for this shit to happen, it's already been dismantled. Y'all don't realize there's so many people that it's not going to click for them. They're going to start coming to their awareness. Some of them, you're going to have what they call high-ranking people on the earthly plane, but high-ranking people spiritually see to the fact that they're fucking miserable. They're so miserable. And it's not saying like, oh my God, they're not valued. They're fucking miserable, bro. They're miserable in a way of like, imagine living this life so much so that you develop I tell you, when you look at the narcissistic templates, when you look at what the foundation of this country has been, or countries in the last couple hundred years, and what each country has been codependent on, whether resources, sucking each other dry is no different than sucking the citizens or people, humanity, dry of their resources. When you look at this realm, this earth, daughter earth, mother earth, whether it's feminine and so forth, the resources are being restored spiritually for our daughters and mothers to regain their sense of power in the spiritual and physical. And that's what the divine mother is. And that's why you have men who will come along as a representation of divine masculine to represent that shit. And there's nothing, and what's protecting them is a divine mother. So ain't nothing no one can do. Nothing. Because it's the order of things. It's the natural order of things. So with that, again, a lot of these people, y'all see their earthly status, they do not have a high spiritual rank. That was a false illusion that they casted upon humanity and people to have y'all believe in. Again, that was the powers that Angle used to be. when you look at a cast, when you look at the director is the source, the creator of things. Okay, so I'm gonna cast the cast of the 2005 the 2025, I said 2005, the 2025 planetary event is going to be such and such, this person, and everybody playing a fucking role until boom, this person transition, this person comes along, and that new energy comes along and implements, they create their imprint in the world. Everyone has that imprint. But y'all not going to tell me not to have rage and not have anger towards the fact of what the mother. That's why I speak. When I'm speaking to the women, I'm speaking from the mother, the wounded mothers, because I came from a mother. Speaking from the things where I'm not going to bash you. I'm going to hold you accountable as the women around you should hold you accountable, as the men around you should hold you accountable. Why aren't you allowing your friends or people you associate with to hold you accountable? Because then that's when you really start to, as you build yourself up, you build the people around you up. Then as you get more rest, your vision will become more clear. Then they will see the vision that you create. Not even see it, but they'll support it. Because then guess what it does? When that person get more rest, imagine our mothers having more rest. They'll be able to realize that the vision, because I know there's resistance right now, they're not going to be as accepting of the shit that I'm saying, because for some of them, they'll come around. It's already going to come around. Let me correct myself. It is here. They are watching. They are. And I've always said, because this coming too, a lot of you artists, actresses, you women that are watching me right now, what's keeping you from sharing this to other women? The women that are watching me right now, and due to your unresolved traumas and your distorted way of seeing men, what is keeping you from sharing this to other women and men? I know a lot of you, spiritually and physically, watch this. What is keeping you from the world seeing a healed man, or a man that's healing? Not even, I ain't gonna say healed, a healing man who can acknowledge his shortcomings, who can acknowledge the fact of he's learning, he's unlearning. Wouldn't you want your sons to see this? Wouldn't you want your father, your grandfather, especially your sons, to see this? To see a man who be authentic? To see a man who can honor himself, honor his emotions? To see a man who don't care to manipulate his mother, not mistreat his mother and disrespect his mother? Wouldn't you want your sons to see that? Or do you want to continue your sons to see men that they know nothing about? And I'm not just meaning men, I'm talking about men who don't come and see them. Men who, just because they have an earthly status or in sports and so forth, you want to continue to teach your son to be passive aggressive? Because they are still passive aggressive in sports, love. They still can be silenced if they come out and speak about certain things. So so y'all still looking towards them, or looking to these men who are just characters in this script, who are just literally positioned there, knowing that they can have an impact on your children's life. But no, they're more caught up in their status, their money. They're a part of the old system that y'all going to look right before your eyes, just like that. Their status is going to change. They're going to fall from grace, respectfully, because they don't honor what is being restored. And that's why you're going to see your rappers, you're going to see athletes, you're going to see the whole shit crumble right before your eyes. And it's not about me. It's about beginning with you as mothers, what you're enabling as a representation of the matriarchal. Ask yourself, why aren't you sharing it? Because you're scared. Because you're used to what's fucking familiar. You're used to what's familiar into the world. But when a man challenges you to empower you to love yourself, to go through your uncomfortable healing, to face a little girl who's waiting for you to grab her hand and see what's going on within you, to surround yourself with people who's holding you accountable so that you can build upon shit that's authentic and honest, so it can show you a part of you that is unfamiliar, but that was familiar to the other people who wanted to keep your ass in stagnation, who wanted to keep seeing you, to keep preying on your woundings, who wanted to keep seeing you emotionally and mentally and spiritually depleted at the end of the day, after you tell them what's been going on with your life, and they could care less. Because I get it. Y'all don't want accountability. Y'all not used to a certain man coming around and expressing. Y'all used to the relationship podcasts that fuels y'all ego, that fuels your woundedness, that fuels the wounded masculine that you keep displaying on certain networks that keep showing women whooping each other ass, fighting each other. I get it. That's what you used to. That's what you're familiar with. A man that come along that look good and say all the right things. And this ain't about right or wrong. This is about a man who comes along and say all the righteous things, so you can purify yourself, so your daughters can finally see you in something that's familiar in the spiritual sense, in a healthy sense, so that your daughters can see finally in your lineage a healthy woman, a woman who is healing, a woman who's not ashamed and guilty over the fact of what she's went through and also what she put other people through. So I get it. That's why I have grace, because I'm still gonna love you. I'm still gonna appreciate you, even through my imperfections, even through the fact that I'm still healing and still learning through y'all. So what's the difference between you learning through us without this being a wall, without this being immediately protection? Because guess what? I didn't come to, as I tell other women, I didn't come to hump on you. I didn't come to do those things, because I had to learn to have more respect for myself. Because I had to also learn to navigate through me being touched on young, or a mother not protecting me, a mother giving me responsibilities early when I didn't even want them. So I'm not giving you more responsibilities in an unhealthy way. I'm actually sharing you to guide to you to be more responsible for you, for your well-being. How to love and honor yourself for once. How to surround yourself. How to let go of that relationship that isn't healthy for you. But it's to show you why to be healthy for you. I'm gonna go. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. This is supposed to be about me, but it ain't. It's bigger than me. Just know that you are loved. Breathe. I appreciate you all. Peace and blessings. Shalom.